Evolution by natural selection explains why living things exist. But the actual mechanics of survival, the precise level where that selection takes place, are often misunderstood. To see what drives the process, we must look past the organism and zoom down to the microscopic level. Here, we identify the unit of selection, the exact entity that competes, survives, and replicates across millions of years. Before we go further, we need to set a ground rule. We are looking at the mechanics of biology. We are examining how things are, not advocating for a moral philosophy of how human society ought to be. When we talk about selfishness in a biological sense, we aren't describing conscious intent or malice. It is a blind, statistical drive to survive. To accurately understand our origins, we have to set human emotion aside and view evolution strictly as an unfeeling, mechanical law of replication. You might have been taught that creatures evolve for the good of the species, like the myth that lemmings sacrifice themselves to prevent overpopulation. This concept is called group selection, and we can test its validity. Imagine a biologically altruistic group. Every individual equally shares resources and cooperates to ensure the survival of the collective. The system breaks down with a single, inevitable mutation. If one individual is born with a selfish trait, it will immediately exploit those shared resources for its own benefit. Because that selfish individual hoards more resources, it reproduces more successfully. Generation by generation, the selfish trait multiplies until the self-sacrificing trait is completely eradicated. Group-level altruism is mathematically defenseless against individual selfishness. The good of the species cannot be the driving force of evolution. The true competitor in the evolutionary arena is the indivisible gene. This is gene selection. A gene acts solely to survive. It increases its own frequency in the gene pool at the direct expense of rival genetic sequences. If genes act solely in self-interest, how do we explain animals displaying altruistic behaviors, like a parent risking its life for its young? This outwardly selfless act is actually driven by gene selfishness. A gene will program an organism to protect other bodies, provided those bodies contain exact copies of that same gene. Let's test this concept. Pause the video for a moment and ask yourself, is a bird giving a warning cry to its flock an example of group selection or gene selection? This leads us to Dawkins' core conclusion. Individual organisms, ourselves included, are survival machines. We are biological robots built by ancient, replicating molecules. Our sole evolutionary function is to transport them safely into the next generation. In this relationship, the bodies are mortal and disposable. The genes inside them are potentially immortal. But as these survival machines became more complex, brains developed a unique faculty: conscious foresight. We can simulate the future in our imaginations, allowing us to recognize our genetic programming and, for the first time, choose to defy it. Let's lock in what we've covered. Here is your Chapter 1 cheat sheet. Take a screenshot to review the core principles of gene selection, and I'll see you in the next lesson.